Shabbat Shalom, Israel. Shabbat Shalom. My name is SHAMAR, and to my left,
Brother,
Brother Yatab. It's a nice lesson. We're going to be talking about black power. Right? So we've all heard white power, right? We've all heard that banner. We've all heard that slogan. And under that banner and that chant, right, Esau went out, they waged war. White power. It was always, right? They burning crosses, they riding with hoods, they rolling through, they're terrorizing. All under that, right? But then, you know, our people, we try to take things and be like, we're going to take this back. You know, there's power, this could be powerful for us. This works in our favor. So as wicked as that phrase is, we recognize that phrase and we know that it has some serious backings behind it, so to speak, right? But now, can someone tell me, and I just kind of want opinions from who's in here, what does black power mean? Like, what do you think of when you hear black power? It could be anybody. Right? You said black people, we supposed to be riding together, right? That's what it's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be us taking that same banner, that same authority, that same, strength that they take behind saying white power, and we supposed to be taking it, we turn it into our thing, but we supposed to be doing it righteously, right? Let's go to, because our people, we talk about power so much, everybody's trying to figure out what's going to be the path. Let's go to Lamentations. Black power. You got the Black Lives Matter movement. You got the new Black Panther Party. You got the Million Man March that happened some years ago, the second one. You have all these different banners of so-called black power, but where's the power? Lamentations chapter 4, let's start at verse 7.
the book of Lamentations, chapter 4, and verse 7. Her Nazarites were purer than snow.
Salakia, 17.
Verse 17.
Uh-huh.
As for us, our eyes yet failed for our vain help.
Uh-huh.
In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us.
So we watch for a nation that can't save us, because y'all know Black Lives Matter. That was like the president, the founder was a white man, right? All these movements, all these government grants that start these programs, that start these movements, that start these, revolutionary groups, and they be connected with Esau. And then our people be, we got to vote, we got to do this, we got to do that. There's power in the black vote. There's power in the black dollar. That's what we got to do. We got to use our power. And it's like, dude, we going to Esau, hoping that the nation that put us in this position is going to be the one to save us. Black power. Right, read on.
Verse 18, they hunt our steps.
So we going to the same people that's hunting us, asking them for peace, asking them for permission to be able to start a movement, asking our oppressors, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we get funding? No, they hunting our steps. They're the nation that are our oppressors, right? Go ahead.
That we cannot go in our streets.
Soon as you leave the threshold of your door, you already being hunted. It's a possibility. Once you step outside, you may not come back. Then you have so many instances and stories where people didn't even leave the house. What was that sister? Breonna Taylor. She was in her own home. We're being hunted we leave out the house, we come home, there's always somebody stalking our steps, and we all know that any moment they decide. Any moment they be like, man, they could pull you over, they could, stop and frisk. They could run up in your house, no knock warrants. We're subject to all these things, and yet we're going to the same nation that's perpetuating this genocide against us, these atrocities against us, and we're asking them for peace. We're asking them for permission. Read on.
That we cannot go in our streets.
He said we can't even go in our streets. We're not safe going in our own communities, in our own neighborhoods. We can't even go out there. Read on.
Our end is near.
He said our end is near. Go ahead.
Our days are fulfilled.
Uh-huh.
For our end is come.
He said our end is come. Go ahead.
Our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of the heaven.
What's Esau's favorite bird? The eagle. Kind of use that as well. But he's the eagle, right? That's on the top of their flag post. That's in all their logos. That's the national bird. That's America. The eagle. You know, the traits of an eagle, it's very fast. It's a very fast flying bird. It's a very swift bird. It's way up higher like all the other birds. And the reason why it's able to go so high is because it has such keen eyesight that even from however high up, it can see little stuff running on the ground, scurrying for cover. And so it can attack. And Esau loves that because that's like, as far as the birds, and it's like an eagle is small. An eagle's not a small bird, it's massive. So there's so much authority and so much power in that bird, at least as far as the animal kingdom. Esau is like, I want to be like that. Because there's no other animal that's up that high looking and attacking. That's a bird of prey that's going to come after and get whatever it's after, right? So they love that eagle. He said, but our oppressors, our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of heaven. Go ahead.
They persuade us upon the mountains.
Read that again.
They pursued us upon the mountains.
They pursued us upon the mountains. He was like, wherever you go, mountain, city, we're being pursued. They're looking for us. Go ahead.
They laid wait for us in the wilderness.
And they waiting, hoping they can catch you slipping, hoping they can catch you out, hoping they be able to have their chance. Said they waiting. So we say all this black power, and then we get hunted. All this black power, and we ain't even safe wherever we're at. Could be walking into a trap, black power, but what is that doing for us, right? Go to Psalms chapter 94. Psalms chapter 94, and let's get verse 20.
The book of Psalms, chapter 94, and verse 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee?
So he said, how can iniquity reign with you? How can that have its part in whatever it is that you try to get going? If you're saying it's going to be for a righteous cause, how could the throne of iniquity be a part of that? Go ahead.
Which frameth mischief by a law.
That's what Esau does, right? We're going to evil asking for good. We're going to this wicked nation hoping that they're going to be able to save us. We're looking for their permission. We're looking for their funding. We're looking for their assistance. And then wherever we don't look for it, then one of them comes along and is like, oh, what's this about? Oh, wow. What do I got to do? How do I become a part of this? Because that's where they want to be at. So we're always looking for our oppressors. We're looking for our enemies. We're looking for the throne of iniquity to bring forth righteousness. And it's never going to happen. That's never going to come from Esau. That's never going to be where our help comes from. That's not where we'll find that, right? And then he said they frame mischief by law. Because if Esau can't outman you, they're going to outpolitic you. So they don't mind being a part of things. They don't mind being able to sponsor and, give sponsorship. They don't mind being able to give financial assistance. But then they'll say, well, I want to share. I want to have this much power. I want to be on your board of directors. I'll give you a board of directors. I'll set this up. Because ultimately, while the Black Lives Matter movement and this whole black power, all this stuff that gets started, ultimately it eventually turns into something that Esau is using, or it's not gaining any traction, right? The whole Black Lives Matter thing, it was run all by lesbians. Like, that was everybody that was at the top. It was all lesbians. It's like, man, my first thing was, how pro-black could you be? And you're not even procreating. You're against your men, at least to a certain extent, to say that you won't be with one, right? I'm not going to be under no man. I'm not doing this for no man. Could we get him the mic? Yeah, pass that back to the bishop.
Finish your point, then I'll say something.
Con, you got it out.
As far as the Black Lives Matter, those women are homosexual, bisexual. They support the LGBTQ community. By George Soros, they was given $60 million. They're recently being under investigation because they're not showing nobody what they did with the $60 million. That was supposed to help us.
I know one of them got caught up because she bought like a $6 million home. You see that?
Yeah. But $60 million could have went a long way for the black community.
It could have, but the whole thing is Esau's not dumb. He's not going to throw that kind of money behind something that might actually get some kind of traction and really change the tide in our oppression. So Exactly. How we gonna go against our oppressor, but we getting funded by our oppressor? And he cool with that. Like, yeah, I'm not just gonna give you 20,000, 30. I'm gonna give you 60 million. Go defeat me. No, come on, man. That's not what's happening. But you see who was at the top. You see who was in power. They ain't been shifted. They ain't been moved. There's plenty of people out here that's motivational speakers that are political figures. They couldn't get that type of funding, especially not if they talking about the wrong stuff. They sitting up here mention reparations. Oh, take the money out. Cut his mic. Take the money from behind that. Ain't no way in the world they about to start talking about that and getting the rest of them to think like that. But these over here, they homosexual, they do this, they do that, they inclusive, everybody's included. You go to a Black Lives Matter protest, the one we went to, it was more white folks out there damn near than black people. But they will allow that to happen because it's like, okay, we still have a certain element of control. They'll frame their mischief by law. Well, legally speaking, you can't exclude, you can't do this, that's discrimination. This is alienation, you can't do that, you can't say this. But after all these these stipulations, this is what you can do. Now you go out there, you protest, you get them, the rest of them to, we feel like we doing something. Everybody chanting, and you see the pictures of like MLK and the civil rights movement. That's what we feel like we got to do. People feel like we doing something, and we right back in the same situation. It's the only movements. It is, and it's like the only movements that gain traction are ones that are always based on or founded in homosexuality, right? Those are the ones that always seem to get the traction, the attention. Those are the ones that get boosted up real high. They get the funding, whatever they need. But then at the source of it is like, well, they cool. Yeah, we about black people, but we still got this going for us. That's how it goes. Did you finish all of that? Read down to verse 22.
Verse 21, They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood.
They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous. Make no mistake, they're still, wherever the throne of iniquity is, that's their goal. They're gathered against the soul of the righteous. They're still looking for a way to overthrow. They're still looking for a way to divide. They're still looking for a way to destroy. That's why he said, how can the throne of iniquity have fellowship with you? How can you be close? How could you try to build with that? You can't. Go ahead.
Verse 22, but the Lord is my defense, and my God is the rock of my refuge.
He said, but the Most High is our defense, and he's the God of our refuge. Go over to Jeremiah chapter 6. Jeremiah chapter 6, and let's get verse 14. Asking Esau for permission. Go ahead.
The book of Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 14. They have healed also the hurt of the daughter of my people slightly.
Slightly. They heal the hurt slightly. You know how they do that? Because they'll give us just a little bit of attention. They give you movements. They give us, they gave us a Black Lives Matter flag. It's that fist, make you feel so strong looking at it. Got all these people buying into these ideas. You got, then they start actually approving things. They're like Juneteenth, national holiday. That's supposed to be when like slavery officially ended. Like, okay, well, we'll give them that. We'll recognize it. You got Black History Month. Right? And it seems like we're really being recognized. It seems like our plight is really being heard. Like, okay, they listening, right? They actually honoring and having some kind of respect. We feel acknowledged because Esau has given us permission to say, okay, take an extra day off. You ain't got nothing in June, take this. Go Juneteenth, that's important. Go ahead. Take a day off. Don't worry about it. And we feel like that's doing something. And so many of our people look to those kinds of things as like major victories. As if that's done anything for our captivity. Then you riding off holiday to holiday, hoping to get by, hoping to keep surviving, hoping to keep pushing forward. Black power. We feel acknowledged. We feel like our plight has been validated. They only heal the hurt slightly. Make you feel a little bit better. Make you feel like they care a little bit, like they willing to do things without, bloodshed and major legislation. They only healed the hurt of our people slightly. Go ahead.
Saying, peace, peace, when there is no peace.
And they say, peace, peace. You know, the scriptures say he shall destroy many with peace. They always say peace, peace. People get away with a lot of stuff just by association. When you hear the word peace, you really feel like this is somewhere. If I'm at peace, I'm dwelling comfortably, right? They always say peace. Oh, one love, peace, all that kind of stuff. Whole time, while they're there, their entire nation is perpetuating genocide against ours. While that conversation goes on, somebody's being killed. Somebody's house is getting busted into. Somebody is being hunted. All while they're saying peace, peace. Oh, we coming in the name of peace. We just want to, some kind of understanding. And the whole time it's like, man, they gathering information. Peace, peace. There is no peace. How could there, after all of this, after the slavery, the genocide, the Jim Crow era, the lynchings, the castrations, the buck breaking, the alligator bait babies, after all of that, how could there be peace between us? And it's no restitution, no reconciliation, no reparations. It ain't nothing that's actually changed, but they want to say peace, peace. After all of this, there ain't no peace. Go over to, take us over to Deuteronomy, right? They're hunting our steps. That's what the Most High said that would happen.
You're absolutely right, Doc. It's a Jake right now. He's like a black activist, and he's showing all like after George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin. He's showing like new cases now of more black people getting killed and gunned down by the police. It's still happening, but ain't no uproars about it no
Constantly.
more. They did a no-knock, a 10-minute raid on this one guy. He wasn't even the suspect or anything. They knocked on his door, busted in his house, and he shot at him, right? He shot one time, and then he seen it was the police. He stopped. And guess what they did to his baby after they arrested him? They dropped his baby on his face, bro, and like looking real bad. Yeah. And they tried to cover it up and say the baby fell out the car when they opened the door. But the baby head was all big, man. It looked terrible.
All of that in the same nation that's claiming peace, the same nation that's claiming that they here for us, the same nation that's telling us to go out and vote and support their system and buy in further and further. And then it's so many of those things are still happening, but like you said, they're not even being publicized. And honestly, I feel like even a lot of our people kind of got tired of the news. People would just eventually get to the point where they shut it off. You know, they had the whole say her name after Sandra Bland, and that was like the next big thing. That was the hashtag that was going viral. Say her name. Everywhere they go, they saying Sandra Bland. Then they got to, all right, say his name. And it was about, all the men that have died under similar circumstances. And then the list of names got so long. It'd be protests and people would just be like, all right, what the next part? Say her name, Sandra Bland. Say her name, Breonna Taylor. Say his name, Tamir Rice, Emmett Till, Oscar Grant. And then it was like, okay, it's so many. It's more than what we can name. It's more than what people even can keep track of because it's constantly being updated. It's constantly more names being added to the list, more bodies being put in bags at the hands of our oppressors. But we talking about black power. Where is our power? Where is the power in this black, like, where is it? Where has been the strength? What they do, the Million Man March, that was like back in 2014? What was that? What year was that? 20, no, I don't think it was, that's recent. They doing all that. And the whole time we're still subject to our oppressors. Still, the names are getting longer. We still seeing more devices. And the crazy part is they're declassifying files 40, 50 years in the past saying, well, this is what we was doing back then, but it's different now. Yeah, the Tuskegee experiment, don't worry about it. Go get your jab. Don't worry about this, don't worry about that. Just take what you need. Deuteronomy chapter 28. And let's start at verse 48. Actually, let's start at verse 47. It was 2020? They must have did another one. Yeah, that must have been like the third Million Man March to happen. And remember the one that, like, I want to say it was like in 2014. Yeah, they had one around that time. That's the one I remember. And under that one, I think so. Yeah. So they was like justice or else. Ain't been no justice, and it ain't been no or else. Start at verse 47.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, in verse 47.
Uh-huh.
Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things.
So the first thing he said, because we're not serving the Most High God. So many of our people want to be able to, and it's crazy because now so many of our people know that they're Israelites. So many people know we're the children of Israel. Constantly. Yeah, I know, brother, tribe of Judah. I'm already knowing. It's no fringes, blunt in the ear, no beard. It's like, man, what? So if you know, what are you going to do about it? What? That's where your power is going to come from, is us turning back to the Most High God. He's the one that put us in this captivity. So if you know so much, what are you going to do with that? Man, I'm already knowing. And because that's the part that people gravitate towards, is that identity. That's the part that sounds trendy. That's the part that everybody can acknowledge. Yeah, we Israel. We ain't just, that's special. Yeah, and then we Judah. That's like they was the ones in rulership. Yeah, that's me. But then that's the extent of the understanding. That's the extent of the journey, is knowing that you Israel, knowing what tribe, or claiming to know what tribe you're from, and that's the end of their journey. And the whole time, the reason why we're in these conditions is because we refuse to serve the Lord with gladness. All the problems in our community, all the issues that we face, there's a commandment that's against it. All the adultery, there's a commandment that's against it. All the theft, there's a commandment that's against it. All the hatred of our brethren, all the deceitfulness, all the lies, there's commandments against them. There's not one issue that's in our community that the Bible doesn't solve. But yet, because we refuse to serve the Most High God, people like to be able to have the part that they want, but they don't want nothing else to do with it. They just want to be able to say, lost tribes, yeah, Judah, yeah. And they don't want nothing to do with the Most High past that. Go ahead. You said the first what? 1985. The Million Man March? Yeah, it was in 2016.
It was one in 2020.
And another one in 2020. So that was the third one then.
It was in South Carolina, the third one.
95, 2016, and 2020. And mind you, that's like black power. Like, man, look at all that power. 1 million man. And then what has become of that? I didn't even know there was one in 2020. all that stuff that's been happening. It's Most High said it's so simple. All you have to do is serve me with gladness. Read that from the top, Bach.
Verse 47, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee.
Which who?
Which the Lord shall send against thee.
Which the Lord shall send against thee. I say this all the time when I'm talking to people. Slavery doesn't even make sense. We're genetically superior. We eat terribly. We eat terrible. You can't read not one ingredient on the back of that package of the stuff we be eating, and yet we're still so physically capable. We still the ones dominating in the NFL. We're still dominating in the NBA. We dominate in the UFC. We dominated every aspect of physicality that there is. It doesn't even make sense that we got taken into slavery on paper. You line somebody up. You know how they always do the lineups to the fight? They be like, this, he's 6'4", he's 6'3", he's this old, he's that. This is his reach versus his reach. You line us up against, you take 10 Jakes versus 10 Edomites, I'd be like, man, my money's on the Jakes. But then how did it happen? Right? He said, the Lord shall send your enemies against you. As soon as, the Most High is in control of spirits, all spirits. Once you have control of the spirit, it ain't much else that got to really happen. You ever been hit in a fight and you just take the fight out of you? You ever been hit and it kind of stunned you? Your spirit just fled. Like, hold on. That's how the Most High got that kind of control. You see all throughout the scriptures, whenever we were righteous and we went against our enemies, as soon as the battle would start, it would say they would start fleeing. It'd be people way in the back. They only see what's going on. They like, oh, no, there's no way I'm getting up there. And they take off in the opposite direction, hoping to save themselves, because they got the spirit of fear. They don't even want the battle no more. They no longer have that interest, that same zeal that they had marching in. He said, but that's because the reason why we got defeated is because the Most High put that upon us. The Most High put it upon us that we wouldn't be able to fight against our enemies, that we would no longer have that strength. And as opposed to them having that fear, we had that fear. And we went out against our enemies and we'd scatter. Go out against our enemies and get defeated so badly, we was just trying to get back home if there was a home to go back to. He said, because the Most High did these things. Go ahead.
Which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger.
Start from the top.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
Thine enemies, go ahead.
Which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. He
said you're going to be in hunger, in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. We sit up here, you went from slavery. Then when our people were freed, we still had a lot of our, our people even that are still today, a lot of our elders, they were picking cotton in hunger, in thirst, in nakedness. Still, not having adequate or proper clothing, not being given, food and water to really be able to survive, just enough to get you through the night to get to the next day to work some more. Then we still they had to have laws put in place in states to be able to, where you required to have some kind of lunch break. Because they'll just work you until you ain't got nothing left to give. It said in nakedness and in hunger and thirst and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. If you ever raised dogs, right, especially pit bulls, you get that little puppy, you put a choke chain on them, and everything they interested in, they try to take off and they run after it. They see a squirrel, they see kids, they see a ball, they run, and they get choked. Then eventually they get to the point where they don't want to run anymore because they already know there's a consequence. You could take the leash off that dog. His mind is already destroyed. That's why you have so many people of our nation that have given up hope, that don't want to even continue a fight. They just want to be out, hey, man, I'm out here doing me. That's convenient. That's the cop-out. It's easier to be able to ignore everything that's going on and to pretend that none of it exists, constantly getting high or drunk or some kind of something to be able to escape what's going on, as opposed to actually realizing the horrible conditions we live in. He said, until he have destroyed thee. So now we don't, the same way that you do with that dog, we don't need a chain. We don't walk around in ball and chain anymore. We don't literally have whips on our back every time we decide to break, but we still have that same slave mentality, not going nowhere. People afraid to leave their jobs. People afraid to look a certain way. Even when Esau come around, Jace was talking about it the other day. Esau, we might be talking and Edom might walk up, and it's a certain kind of you got to catch yourself. Like, hold on, I don't owe you that much respect. But it's already been so conditioned within our people that it's just a natural response at this point. So you already know. So you don't want to portray yourself a certain way. You don't want to look a certain way until he have destroyed thee. You got something, you take that same pit bull, once it's grown, it's big and bad, it's strong. That's one of the most terrifying dog breeds. It ain't running. They ain't even got to put a leash on it. They tell it to go, it go. They tell it to come back, it comes back. They tell it to sit, heel, walk around, whatever, roll over. He'll do everything that he's being told to do because he's already destroyed. They don't even realize if it were to just jump up and bite, how the ferocity that it now has because it's grown into its strength. But it's already been destroyed. Go ahead.
Verse 49, the Lord shall
bring...
Hold
on, who?
The Lord.
The Lord. Always, the scriptures keep acknowledging the Most High because that's what our people always try to run from. They want to be able to take the trendy parts, the convenient parts. But at the same time, he said, yeah, he's a God of mercy, but he's also a God of judgment. He said the Lord brought these enemies upon us, right? Go ahead.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far.
From far. It was an 18-month journey from the coast of Africa all the way to America. Year and a half. Know how long that is to be away, especially to be on a boat? Keep in mind, imagine this. You got a year and a half one way, then you got a year and a half the other way. What's that, 3 years? You got 3 years. Imagine a slave master. He leave a 2-year-old son. He come back, that boy is 5. He left to go get some slaves. They was coming from far. That's not no simple journey. That's not no easy task. Each way, a year and a half. So he said the Most High is going to bring our enemies from way across the ocean. They crossed oceans to come and bring this oppression to us. All because the Most High allowed it. All because the Most High was no longer our defender. And he was like, man, they in their iniquity. They in their sin. They doing what they want to do. Go ahead, you got them. Go ahead.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies.
Go that eagle again. Go ahead.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
We wasn't going to understand their tongue. Now it's common. Now we've already been defeated. Now our struggle is getting back to our original language. We've been here so long. That's all we grow up knowing is the languages of our oppressors. Go ahead.
A nation of fierce countenance.
Fierce countenance. Go ahead.
Which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
Fierce countenance is like they got a fierce look. You know, you see the military, you see the way that they move, you see the mentality, like it's a fierce nation, right? Everybody, they straighten up. Everybody's afraid to go against Esau. They got political meetings. They shaking hands with enemies on national TV because they know, don't step out of line. You get hit. They say, what do they say? Whoever wins has basically whoever has the biggest stick wins. Esau, that American army is that stick.
Teddy Roosevelt.
It was Teddy Roosevelt. So Esau got that big stick. They like, I dare you. Step out of line. They don't care about the young or the old. I was watching Vet TV, and they talked about how in special forces, the higher up you got, the more similar of a personality type that you saw. It was a sociopath with homicidal tendencies. Basically, somebody that didn't care about human life and that enjoyed killing. And that was like the higher up you went, the more you saw that. And when you got to like the Delta, the SEAL team, they loved it. They all were interviewed talking about, man, I cut this guy in half. I saw him roll, and I felt so good. I mowed him down. I killed this, bro. I did this. I did that there. There was guys that were talking about they were just killing just to kill. They just, like, sergeants was congratulating them, and they would get rewarded just for blowing people apart. They got a fierce countenance. When you go up against them, they don't care. They go on a war, and they mean war. They always say, man, I just wish I could kill. They would, man, I'm telling you, watch, if you ain't seen that, go watch those interviews, because they was just like, man, I just wanted to just bomb everything. I just wanted to destroy everybody. That was the fierce countenance. And that was against the enemy they had to go find. Imagine how they feel about us, and you right here in this backyard. He wake up, and he moved into a neighborhood. He thought he wasn't going to see no faces, none of our faces. And he wake up and see one. And they got that fierce countenance. You know. Good morning. Good morning. God damn it. Can't believe this. They got that fierce countenance, and they don't care whether it's old or young. Y'all saw that? Man, I wish I would have had more names. There was a brother a couple years ago. He was 60 years old, tried to run from a police officer. He got shot in the back. He was 60 years old, and mind you, he wasn't like he's 60, but he wasn't like one of those, like, he was very clearly elderly. He ran like an older man, and it wasn't even that fast. In a couple of seconds that it took him to turn and run, he had already been shot. And he was only a couple feet in front of the officer. The officer could have damn near walked and caught him. But he was like, oh, this is my chance. He's resisting. I got him. Gunned him down. Tamir Rice was 12. Officer showed up. Somebody slowed the video down and broke it down frame by frame. It was within about 3/4 of a second that the officer actually had put his vehicle in park, got out, and fired the first shot. Killed Tamir Rice, 12-year-old boy. He took the first shot before he even got out the car? He shot through the windshield? They ready to kill. They don't show up to serve and protect. They show up to see who can they get. Who can we catch slipping? Who can we justify killing? Who can we take out of the war? Who can we take out of this fight? And they don't care if it's young. They don't care if it's old. They just want somebody that they can get. All ages. Nobody's off the table with our people. It said, a nation that shall not regard, they shall not show favor to the young or regard the person of the old. Take us over to Hosea chapter 4. Remember, he was saying it's because we didn't serve the Most High with gladness that we are in these conditions in the first place. And so many of our people, they content with just going to Esau. They content with trying to petition and protest. That's easier than coming back to the Most High. But that's ultimately what leads to our destruction. We're going to start off at verse 6. We're going to read 6 through 10.
The book of Hosea, chapter 4, and verse 6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge.
For a lack of knowledge. Go ahead.
Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I also will reject thee.
So why would the Most High say that because we rejected knowledge, he's going to reject us? If it means that you don't read every day anything, does that mean you'll be rejected? What knowledge did we reject? These laws. This is what we rejected. This is what we didn't want to have part in. And you see so many of our people to this day that are still rejecting the Most High. They can acknowledge we're Israel. You can acknowledge that slavery happened. You can acknowledge that it was in the Bible. You can acknowledge that the Bible was around before the first slave ship left. And yet they still don't want nothing to do with this. They still want nothing to do with this. They don't want to hear about a commandment. They don't want to hear the steps. They don't even, you try to hand people literature, they act like you trying to hand them a turd. I'll be like, that you don't even know what it is yet. We reject knowledge. Don't want nothing to do with that. It ain't because we ain't, because, I mean, come on, man. Our people do have wisdom. I can give credit. There's plenty of scholars amongst us. They be studying Egypt. They be studying ancient civilizations, study Africa, Kemet, even Israel. We study all these different things. Our people are a knowledgeable people. But it's not any old knowledge that's going to save us. You ask the Egyptologist, what do you do in the quest of your religion, in the service of your God? You serve Ra, right? You serve Amun-Ra. You serve this one. You serve that one. What is like something that you got to do in the quest of your service? Most of them don't have an answer. And then the ones that do have an answer, follow-up question, how does that help your people? That's simple. How does you serving that God help your people? What have you done? What have you changed? They go around calling everybody king and queen. Okay, I appreciate that. What's that going to do for me tomorrow when I got to get up and I got to go clock in? What's that going to do for me when the police is behind me and I know I'm a king? I'm not saying there's no value, but then what's next? What comes after that? Go ahead.
Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me.
He said, you're not going to be a priest to me anymore. Go ahead.
Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children.
He said, and I'm not dealing with you. I'm not going to deal with you. And after you, I'm not going to deal with your children. A lot of people, they'll do stuff in the quest of just having, to be able to save their kids. Okay, you do what you want with me. Just let them live. He said, I ain't going to. Most I was like, I'm done with all of y'all. I don't even care. Nah, I ain't worried about that. Go ahead.
As they were increased, so they sinned against me.
And that's all it really boils down to. The more that we get, that's when we start to sin against the Most High. As we get increased, once we start feeling good and we get into a semi-comfortable place, that's when we start to forget about the Most High. Everybody sitting up there, they did all kind of sin, committed all kind of fornication, they receiving their reward. Man, I just want to thank God. When have you ever acknowledged God? The God of this Bible. When have you ever acknowledged him? Where is he in any of the things that you do? Go ahead.
Therefore will I change their glory into shame.
And now all these things that we got about us, now they shameful. The same way that we are so innovative and the same way that we have this natural ability to be able to deal with our problems, now it's like people just be so ignorant, making a joke of everything, trying to find a way to be able to cope. Now it's like the same qualities that were first glorious unto us is now shameful unto us. The same thing that we boast, now they're shameful. Go ahead.
They eat up the sin of my people, and they set their heart on their iniquity. And there shall be like people, like priests, and I will punish them for their ways and reward them their doings.
He said, like priests, and I will punish them for their ways. That's what we are now. Because we rejected the knowledge of the Most High, we wanted nothing to do with the Most High, we're rejected. We're getting punished for our iniquities. We're being rewarded for our own deeds. Go ahead.
For they shall eat and not have enough.
Go ahead.
They shall commit whoredom and shall not increase. because they have left off to take heed to the Lord.
Go over to Haggai, chapter 1 and verse 6. He said they're going to eat and not have enough. Everything that we doing, all this stuff that we call ourselves doing to be able to get ahead, always trying to be able to satisfy ourselves, always in a rush to the next thing. We always have something new is always coming along, and it's never enough. It's never satisfactory. It never gets to a place where our people are like, okay, I'm done with that. It's just, what's the next thing? What's going on? Go ahead.
Book of Haggai, chapter 1 and verse 6.
Uh-huh.
Ye have sown much and bring in little.
He said, you sow much and bring in little. All this stuff that we do, we always be so invested in so many different things. We always planting. People be trying to, our people be trying to do so much, get started with all these different movements, all these different banners, all these different sayings, all these different concepts. And can't nothing really seem to get enough traction to be able to start changing our situation. Go ahead.
Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink.
Uh-huh.
Ye clothe you, but there is none worn. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes.
Said then you earn wages, you working, you clock it in. And then it seems like that money just be gone as soon as you get it. As soon as you get paid, it's like, dang, you got the credit card bill due, the phone bill due, this bill, that bill, you got this going on, you got that going on. Then when everything's taken care of, that check engine light come on. Oh my God. Not the check engine. It's always something where our money, it goes into a bag with holes. We always seem to be able to, invest here and invest there. We're working on this, we're working on that, and we never are able to actually do something or make something of that. And then you see those that actually do get the real money, they go and they satisfy themselves. They ain't really even about the people. They go and buy their $6 million house, and they be like, all right, man, y'all figure it out. Y'all be good. I'm going to be up here. I'm going to be in the mansion. Was that all that? Was that verse 7?
Verse 7, thus said the Lord of hosts, consider your ways.
He said, consider your ways. Why do you think you're putting all your money into a bag with holes? Why do you think you're eating and never being satisfied? Go back to Hosea chapter 4. Why do you think you're like all these things are not prospering? Our people are so innovative because we're the children of the Most High. The Most High gave us, he said we're made in his image and his likeness. We have that ability. He called us gods, and yet why are we still second-class citizens, still downtrodden, still being oppressed, still stuck? We so much. We ain't reaping nothing. We doing all this, and we not reaping no benefits. We not finding no fruit, and all these things that are going on. It seems like everybody in the so-called black community or in the Israelite community, it seems like half of us are working on trying to fix things, and half of us are content with what's going on. But even for the half that are working, they surely should be able to do something. And yet, where's that change? Where's that progress? You only really see Israelites still consistently going at trying to change and trying to bring forth some type of revolution. You saw the new Black Panther Party, when they first came out, they hit the streets hard. And they was selling newspapers, and they had to get it going that way. You had all these other movements. They was going hard. Then they had to try to switch it up and figure it out because it wasn't working. I said, why? But he said, consider your ways. Start at verse 11. Yeah, Hosea chapter 4, verse 11. Hosea chapter 4 and verse 11.
Book of Hosea chapter 4 and verse 11. Whoredom and wine and new wine take away the heart.
He said, whoredom, wine, and new wine take away the heart. After he was talking about all the ways that we rejected the Most High and how he don't want to deal with us, why is he saying that? Go ahead.
My people ask counsel at their stocks, and their staff declareth unto them. Mm-hmm. For the spirit of whoredoms hath caused them to err, and they have gone a-whoring from under their God.
That's why he said, consider your ways. Consider what you're doing. Because we're going whoredom, the spirit of whoredom, like lack of control. We just everywhere. You know what a whore does? Literally has someone that they're married unto. They're in a relationship, right? That person's investing in them, building them, whatever the case may be, and they go and they sleep with somebody else and somebody else. They go and they just pretty much squander whatever it is that they have. He said, we're sick with the spirit of whoredoms. It's causing us to err. Because we go on to the next thing, then the next thing. We doing this, then we doing that, then we over here, then we over there. It says we've gone a whoring from under our God. Go ahead.
Verse 13, they sacrifice upon the tops of the mountains and burn incense upon the hills, under oaks and poplars and elms, because the shadow thereof is good.
He said we're committing whoredoms after our God. How do we do that? Because now everything's about, well, the universe, the will of the universe. Like, what? It's the vast will of the universe, the this and the that. Man, I did everything right. The universe just didn't have it in it. Like, this is the creation. Don't the scriptures talk about he that worships the creation more than the creator? And that's exactly what our people are doing, falling after these creations as opposed to the creator thereof. And you got so many people, the ancestors. Oh, I seen a sister, she had some real funny looking money. And I was like, oh, okay, where's that? I figured she had gone to some kind of country. She was like, no, that's ancestor money. I said, is what? Yeah, that's ancestor money because they bless me, so I'm going to bless them. So I got this money to be able to bless them. I kid you not. That was a real life experience. Yeah, that's the mentality. That's what the mentality of our people are. Going a whoring after all these different understandings. They doing the ancestors that couldn't save themselves and are guilty of the same iniquities that we have committed. Praying to them, hoping that bodies in the ground are going to somehow rise up and come and save us. No. Ancestors, the universe, the burning sage. He said they burning incense upon the hill. And I'm not saying that has no benefits. They show you it has something. But people use that like religiously. Right. All that kind of stuff. Oh man, I don't know, the vibe in here is bad. You need to burn some sage. It's kind of dark in here. You need to burn some sage. Your back hurting, you need to burn some sage. Like that's the end all be all to all the problems. You just got to burn some sage. And that's what it's going to change your predicament. You about to go to a job interview, you need to burn some sage. And they be trying to bless themselves. You know what I mean? They hit the armpits. They be trying to coat themselves with the sage to be able, like, that's really going to bless them. And some people, that's really what they trusted in. They really sit up here as that's burning. They really think like, okay, this is going to bring about change. Desperate to get that sage. Man, I heard about it. I ordered it as soon as I could. Be peeking through the blinds, waiting for that Amazon package to come. Oh, man, there go my sage. Get that in here ASAP. My life, this about to change the game. You see, like, that's because people really be trusting in that. People really be believing in that sage, and like that's gonna do everything. That's your bank account ain't right. You need to burn some sage in the bank. You need to just go in there and wave it around. You get it right. They trusted in the incense. We burn the incense upon the hills. We go a whoring again from under our God. Go ahead.
Therefore, your daughters shall commit whoredom, and your spouses shall commit adultery.
He said, therefore, because mind you, when you burn in sage under all these different ideologies and all these different concepts, where's the real accountability? When we say we're about the Bible, you can see because our beliefs are in writing. You can't go to him and go to me, and we shouldn't have different beliefs because we got a book. Somebody lying. Somebody's incorrect. Maybe it might not be malicious, but somebody's wrong. We got ours right here in writing. Then all these people, they got all these different opinions and ideologies and concepts. They got all these things that they serve, and they ain't got no real accountability and nothing that they actually take heed and are faithful to. He said, so because of that, your spouses and your children, he said your daughters and your spouses, they going to commit whoredom. Go ahead.
Verse 14, I will not punish your daughters when they commit whoredom, nor your spouses when they commit adultery.
Why?
For themselves are separated with whores.
He said at this point, I ain't even going to get them. Yeah, absolutely, they're going to have a judgment, but I'm going to just go ahead and let them. That's what y'all want. That's pretty much what the Most High is saying. You ever had somebody that you love and you want to help them, but they don't want to be helped? They put themselves in a position where they're constantly boxed off or they're constantly unwilling to be able to let somebody in that's going to be able to help them. That's what the Most High got to. He said, man, just go ahead. Y'all can go ahead. Y'all go do what you're going to do because you already, that's what you desire. As many times that done brought you back, as many times that done built you back up, you still end up in that predicament. He said, just go ahead. I'm not going to, there'll be a judgment. But he said, when it happens, I'm not going to punish them. Go ahead.
And they sacrifice with harlots.
And they sacrifice it with harlots. He's like, man, how am I going to save you from the whores and the harlots that you running with? How am I going to be able to pull you out of that? Go ahead.
Therefore, the people that do not understand shall fall.
So therefore, the people that doth not understand, we're the ones that are going to fall. Go to 1 Chronicles chapter 17. 1 Chronicles chapter 17, and we're going to get verse 22. Because we didn't try everything. Our people would try everything but the Most High. They are fair to the sage. Some of them fall under their ancestors, the universe. And then you got some of them that be like, man, I'm out here doing me. Or I serve me. You hear that a lot, where people are just bold-faced tell you, like, I don't want nothing to do with that. I want to do what I want to do. And they're content. They're satisfied. That's all they need. But this is what the Most High said. Go ahead.
Book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 17, and verse 22.
Mm-hmm.
For thy people Israel didst thou make thine own people forever,
Mm-hmm.
and thou, Lord, becamest their God.
God literally means power. Go over to Isaiah chapter 59. So he said, you made Israel your people forever, and you decided that your father, you're going to be their God. So then it's like, okay, well, if we're his people forever, and he's going to be our God for that time, it says, then why are we going through what we're going through? Y'all ever seen Birth of a Nation? Y'all seen that movie? You remember where, I don't know what her name was on the movie, but Gabrielle Union, you know, she was one of the slaves' wives, and the master requested her. And when he came back out of the house, he said, where's God now? Like, we going through all this, well, where's God? That's where a lot of our people ask. That's what a lot of people, when you really get to the nitty-gritty, a lot of our people will give up. You watch Soft White Underbelly. Watch some of them interviews, and people will talk about how they was praying and praying and praying, and they never got an answer, so they stopped believing in God. It's like, where's God now? That's what everyone's asking. They're offended, like God wouldn't come. He didn't save me when I was asking him to. So why is that? Read verse 1. Isaiah chapter 59.
Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that he cannot save.
He said, it ain't that I couldn't save you. It wasn't that I could, like, oh, man, I can't get to you right now. I'm already over here. I'm saving now. No, he said, it's not that I couldn't save you. Uh-huh.
Neither his ear heavy, that it cannot hear.
And he said, it ain't that I couldn't hear you. People be crying, the Christian church, all these different things that be going on, they crying into the Most High. He's like, it's not that I can't hear you, and it's not that I can't save you. Go ahead.
But your iniquities have separated between you and your God.
And that goes back to that, you got that somebody that you love. And I'm not talking about somebody that has an issue that, they struggling with and they need time to be able to come out of. I'm talking about somebody that just, no matter what you do for them, no matter how hard you try for them, you just can't, there's nothing you could do. And every time you help them, it seems like you're hurting them. Harriet Tubman said it. She said, I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if they knew they were slaves. That means that if she has that experience, there had to have been a time where she was like, look, brother, we going to be free. Follow me. I'm going to lead you to, and it was like, what? Leave Massa? No. Why are we going to leave? I got my food. I got my whole life is here. There are people that we love that you just at a certain point, you can't do nothing. Like, man, you know what? You have to figure it out. I do love you. I do care about you. I wish I could see you, in the position I'd like to get you to, but I'm going to have to let you figure it out first. And a lot of people, they chose to stay in that captivity. They chose to stay in that cage because that's where they were comfortable. That's what they desired. So the Most High was saying, look, it ain't that I can't hear you, and it ain't that I can't save you, but we're still in our iniquity. We're still sinning against our Father. I was talking with Yashamar. He said it well. He said we act like spoiled kids entitled to daddy's riches. Everybody feel like they're going to get into the kingdom of heaven. Everybody feels like they don't just think they're going to get in. They feel like they deserve to get in. I am a good person. Can't tell, I do this, I do that. Yeah, I'm telling me I'm not going to heaven. I know, you ever see that? It was an African preacher. He said, if you get to heaven and I am not there, you have gone to hell. I said, whoa, what a plot twist. I was like, damn, that much confidence. He said, if you get there, you'll see me, you in the wrong place. That's how confident our people be and feeling like we know the Most High, like we doing the right stuff, and the whole time we be laden with iniquity. And the Most High is just like, man, I can't even deal with you. See that call, see that prayer coming in? Ooh, not that one. Oh, no, I can't hear that one. I don't even, because laden with iniquity. Go ahead.
For your iniquities have separated between you and your God, and your sins have hid his face from you, that he will not hear.
He hitting that do not disturb. Don't come in, not until you get right. Go ahead.
For your hands are defiled with blood, and your fingers with iniquity.
We're defiled with blood and iniquity. Go ahead.
Your lips have spoken lies. Your tongue hath muttered perverseness. None calleth for justice.
So he said our hands are defiled with blood and our fingers with iniquity. It's like we filthy in the Most High's eyes. Because we refuse to repent. We refuse to get right. We refuse to answer his calls. But then every time something is going on within our lives, that's when we ready to pray. Look, I know it's been a while, Lord, but I really need this Bentley. If you do this, I swear to God, I swear, Lord, this gonna be the last time. You know what, they be lying. Like, that's what, go ahead, all right? No way they be lying.
Man, I seen one dude today. He was cussing and all that. Lord, if you really love me. It was an armored truck in front of him. He driving behind it. He filmed himself praying. God, if you really love me, you will open these doors. If you love me, you will do this. You will let this truck flip over so he can get the money out of the armored truck. I'm like, man, dudes is like,
and you know what?
For real.
Yeah, be crazy. Just be feeling entitled, like we deserve these things. And you know what's crazy? It's how when Satan came to Christ and he was like, if you the Son of Man, then throw yourself off this building or this mountain. He was like, won't Most High send angels to catch you? And he said, thou shalt not tempt the Lord. Tempt literally mean, one of the definitions of tempt is to incline by force for assistance. Like you making somebody help you. That's that, well, if you love me, like, yeah, that's the nerve of you. Like the nerve, I feel like the nerve of this nigga here. You gonna sit up here and act like the Most High ain't got no kind of love for you. Like he ain't ever did nothing for us. And this is what's gonna prove your love. You know, I get to them commandments when I get to them commandments. But if you love me, this is what you gonna do. Like we in a place to set stipulations and terms with the Most High. He said, yeah, he said don't tempt him. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what that is. That's trying to by force incline for help. Well, I mean that because what Yahweh Shai was really saying, whom the world knows as Jesus Christ. What Christ was really saying, he was like, man, there's no way I'm going to throw myself off this mountain. I'm not going to cast myself because I know that's like forcing the Most High to send an angel to catch me. Like, don't put him in that kind of position. It's not that he's not able, but what kind of love is that if you always testing somebody? Always trying to see how far will they go for you, how much, because then that's really you trying to see how much power you have. I'm gonna do this. Let me see what you get to crying, get to falling out. We know it. Some of us you go through with your spouse. They get to acting a fool. Is he looking? Is he coming? Oh, trying to do that with the Most High. If you love me, Lord, is the tire flat? Is it gonna happen? Did my account hit 100K yet? No. They be really basing off of blessings. The whole time we are blessed, right? We are spiritually rich. Exactly. Waking up is a blessing, and not only waking up, you woke up an Israelite. You woke up the chosen people out of all the nations of the earth. The Most High said, all praises to the Most High. The Most High said he dealing with us. That's absolutely a blessing. We already have all those things that are for us and to our advantage, and yet we still sitting up here tempting the Most High, asking him, inclining him for assistance. And then, exactly, but the Most High said, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments, but they don't want to deal with that. That's why he said, when you call, I don't want to hear that either. He said, I hid my face. As soon as you come around, I'm not doing that. I'm about to be over here. Go ahead, verse 4.
Verse 4, none calleth for justice. nor any pleadeth for truth.
Nobody's even looking for these things anymore. They're not looking for justice or truth. Everybody's doing what's convenient. Everybody does what feels good. And it's crazy. You even see the mentality. I see like small stuff. I don't know if this bothers everybody, but I know it bothers me. When I see people that get killed and they be like, he died at 18. He didn't die. Dying implies that it was of natural causes. Somebody got shot 5 or 6 times. A horrible massacre. He died. Like, nah, he was killed. They don't call for justice. They don't call for the truth of that matter. They're okay with just, okay, let's give this sweet lullaby. We're going to say he died. At church, they're going to say he's in a better place. Whole minister society in a better place. So I'd be like, well, damn, who is going to hell? Who is? If everybody's sitting up here going to heaven, everybody that we know, the drug dealer, the pimp, the prostitute, those that wouldn't repent, the atheist, everybody's going to heaven. Then it's like, but who's going to hell? Everybody be like, well, Hitler. Name me another one. Okay, so I guess it's like, well, I guess a vote. Like, we can vote on who's going to hell. Everybody else is cool. That's the ideology of our people. Nobody's calling for justice. Nobody's even concerned, pleading for truth. No one's even looking for it. No one's even seeking after it. Go ahead.
They trust in vanity and speak lies.
That's what's convenient. Trusting in vanity, speaking lies. Go ahead.
They conceive mischief.
They thinking about mischief. That's what they meditating on. That's what our people invest our energy in. That's all the things that are interesting to us. Go ahead.
And bring forth iniquity.
And bring forth iniquity. Drop down to verse 7.
Verse 7. Their feet run to evil.
Run to evil. Go ahead.
And they make haste to shed innocent blood. Their thoughts are thoughts of iniquity.
He said their feet run to evil. You at school, somebody start fighting, what everybody doing? Oh, World Star. Now it's, what's the other one? Grind Face. They running. They had all these different challenges that's coming up. The cucumber challenge, the milk crate challenge. Oh man, we got to get that going like ASAP. Oh yeah, everybody's interested. Running to evil, running to the foolishness. That's what they want to be involved in. Quick to shed innocent blood, hands that shed innocent blood. There's no one pleading for truth in all of that. Everyone sees that this is wrong. Everyone sees what's happening. No one's concerned about the truth. No one's concerned about actually pleading for justice. Everybody just want to get the best angle. That's everybody want the, hey, watch out, man. Come on, I can't even get in there the way I'm trying to get in there. I can't see. That's what people have an issue with. Go ahead.
Wasting and destruction are in their paths.
Wasting and destruction in our paths. Go ahead.
The way of peace they know not, and there is no judgment in their goings.
Go ahead.
They have made them crooked paths.
Made them crooked paths. No judgment in our goings. Made us crooked paths. Walking along the corrupt ways. Go ahead.
Whosoever goeth therein shall not know peace. Therefore, is judgment far from us.
Judgment is far from us. Only God can judge me. Don't you do that. Don't you do this. Judgment is far away, but it's going to come suddenly. Then that's when everyone's concerned. Where is God now? Go ahead.
Neither doth justice overtake us. We wait for light, but behold, obscurity. For brightness, but we walk in darkness.
And we waiting for something to change, as if doing the same thing over and over again is going to help us. That's the literal definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Our people have been partying, they've been protesting, they've been marching. Nobody has touched the Bible in all this. MLK was a preacher. I don't really see him bringing out any scriptures. I don't see him actually fulfilling that role in the community of being the preacher. He was like, everybody follow me. I have a dream. I got this going. I got that going. But it was never like, hey, we the children of Israel. Hey, we got to at least start keeping these commandments. We got to at least start doing some of these things. It was just like, nah. The only part that he liked was turn the other cheek. Imagine, if I come to you, I'm like, hey, we going to go out here and we going to march. But when they sock you or slap you, you going to let them. When they bring out the water hoses and the dogs, they'll see the error of their ways. You just got to let them do it long enough. They're going to tire themselves out. Then they're going to realize that they was wrong. We've been doing that for decades. Esau ain't got tired yet. They finding new ways. Oh, they standing still? Hit them with that. What else could we do? How could we get that water hose wider? Maybe we shouldn't even use water. What else? What's next? All those different things, all these different devices. That's what our oppressors are doing. Running. So we do all these things, right? Where were you at? Was that the bottom of verse? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. So we quick to do all this foolishness. We quick to get involved with all the foolery, with all the stupidity, with all the simplicity. We quick to do those things. The Most High kept it very simple. He said, man, look, I'm going to be your God, but your iniquity separates you from me. You got to get right. That's the only way I'm going to be able to deal with you. I'm going to sit up here and say you my representative, and you the total opposite of what I am. That's bad. That's horrible representation. Drop down to verse 28.
Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 28.
Uh-huh.
For they are a nation void of counsel.
Uh-huh.
Neither is there any understanding in them.
So there's no understanding in us. Go ahead.
Oh, that they were wise.
He said, man, if only they would just be wise. Go ahead.
That they understood this.
Uh-huh.
That they would consider their latter end.
Only if we realized all these things that we've been doing, all this stuff that we've been repeating and retrying and revisiting. He said, if only you would consider your latter end. How many people have tried it before you and failed? How many movements have come up and been dethroned? How many of them had God in them? Go ahead.
How should one chase 1,000?
Hold on. He said, how? Because you know how the Most High said in Deuteronomy 28, when he was talking about the blessings, he said, our enemies would come before us, and we would send them out running, right? He talks about one chasing 1,000 and two a host. He said, but how could one chase 1,000? That's one of them things that on paper, it doesn't make sense, right? There has to be some kind of divine intervention. How could one man chase 1,000? Even if he could have any kind of gun, it's 1,000 people. They gonna figure something out. He could be mowing them down, and they're like, okay, you go this way, you go that. We got 1,000 people. We gotta figure something out. He ain't got that many bullets. He can't get all of us. But he said, how could one really chase 1,000? Go ahead.
And two put 10,000 to flight.
And two put 10,000 to flight. Go ahead.
Except their rock had sold them.
Uh-huh.
And the Lord had shut them up.
He said, how could you have been able to do that unless it was me who was doing it? That's why he said, consider your latter end. You really think you about to go? You think that like Gideon in the 300 versus what was it, 10,000? He said, you really think that you could do that by yourself? You really think that one of y'all is going to make 1,000 of them run? Two of y'all is going to put 10,000 to flight. He said, do you think that's really possible unless I was with you? That's what the Most High said, man, consider the end. Consider how this is going to go. You ain't going to win unless I'm there. Go ahead.
For their rock is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges.
He said, because their rock is not as our rock. The God they serve, the things that they calling on, they don't have the power that the Most High has. They don't have the power of Yahweh. He said, man, consider your end. Their rock is not our rock. Go ahead. Oh, wait, and he said, even our enemies themselves being judges, even they can recognize that when we're in our righteousness, didn't that same thing happen in Judith? They was like, look, hold on, before you go down there, you just consider, just hear me out. If they're in iniquity, this will be their end. If they down there and they acting like a fool, they moving crazy, well, then we got them. He said, but if they ain't got too, you can't see the sin amongst them, and their God is with them, he said, then you should leave. He said, even our enemies know that. Even they can judge that for themselves and say, okay, look at they moving. Nah, we can go up against them. They God ain't with them, not with them moving like that. But then in the same token, if we are moving righteously, then it's like, nah, we shouldn't try that right now. Because the Most High, he'll put us all to death. Go ahead.
For their vine is of the vine of Sodom, and of the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall. Their clusters are bitter.
It ain't no beauty in there. It ain't no sweetness in there. Go to Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 12. It said they're rooted in Sodom and Gomorrah. They're rooted in that wickedness. It's all destruction. It's all vanity. It's all lies. It's all abomination. That's where they're rooted. whereas we have the Most High God, if we're serving him in truth and in righteousness. Let's get over to Jeremiah chapter 3, start at verse 12.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 3, and verse 12. Go and proclaim these words toward the north, and say, Return, thou backsliding Israel, saith the Lord, and I will not cause mine anger to fall upon you. For I am merciful, saith the Lord.
The scriptures say, the Most High said, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked. So many people, they try to make it seem like the Most High is just this monster. Like, oh, I don't want to serve a God like that. He said, man, look, all I want you to do is to acknowledge what you're doing. Just return unto me. He said, I won't even be, you return, I won't even cause my anger to fall on you. Go ahead. He said, oh, I'm sorry. He said, because I'm merciful. He said, it's not like I want to be angry. The Most High said he's married to us. I use this example all the time. I said, who gets married and wants to argue? Who gets married and wants problems? Oh, on the wedding night. They're like, oh, thank God I finally got somebody I can argue with. Oh, we're going to have so many fights. Who moves like that? Who thinks like that? Ain't nobody thinking like that. So what makes you think that the Most High enjoys the conflict with the apple of his eye? What makes you think that the Most High likes putting us into captivity and likes having to destroy us for our iniquity? He said, man, I don't want to have to do this to you. He said, just look. And when you acknowledge something, ain't people way more willing to work with you when you're willing to talk about you got an issue? I can sit up here. It ain't no secret. I'm big. I sit up here like, man, it ain't that bad. People, you can see the frustration of people's face when they try to tell you something. And you just won't hear it. They be like, oh, can't deal with them. You can't help them at that point. They don't even want to acknowledge that they got an issue. They don't even care to have a conversation to start taking a step in the right direction. You be like, man, I can't deal with you. Because I can't help you, not because I can't help you, but because you won't help yourself. Most High saying the same thing. He said, look, just let's talk about it. Acknowledge that you was wrong. Acknowledge what you're doing. Start keeping the commandments and cleaning up your acts. Take the steps in the right direction. And when y'all get it right, I got you. Go ahead.
Only acknowledge thine iniquity, that thou hast transgressed against the Lord thy God, and hast scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree. And ye have not obeyed my voice, saith the Lord. Turn, O backsliding children, saith the Lord, for I am married unto you.
He said, I'm married unto you. This is a relationship. The Most High always says, thou shalt love the Lord thy God. Love me in gladness, not preferring one over. Do the works that they are not grievous. Do you like when somebody, especially your spouse, if don't nobody do something right for you, you want your spouse to do it right, right? They know you well. They understand you. They may not know every single thought, but they know how you like things. And then when they sit up there and they get that lackluster effort, you be like, oh, my goodness. Or how do you feel? You ask your wife to do something, and she be like, what you need? You can't wait? How does that make you feel? And we're only made in the image of the Most High. We're only a fraction of what he is. So imagine how he feels about that type of effort and environment from us. That type of response. Keep the commandments. The what? Can you wait? Oh, we ain't got to talk no more. That's when he be like, okay. I ain't hearing prayers from there no more. I ain't hearing that. He said, just acknowledge your iniquity. Go ahead.
And I will take one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion.
He said, that's all you got to, you got to start acknowledging what you're doing. Repent from what you're doing. He said, I'm going to take you, for those that are willing to do it, one of a city, I'm going to take you here and there, and I'm going to take you to Zion. Let's go down. What verse was that? Keep going. Go ahead.
Verse 15, and I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding.
So then he starts talking about the actual process, because it's a little bit more than acknowledging, though acknowledging is a really big part of it. He said, then I'm going to start giving you teachers. There's going to be pastors that are according to mine heart. They know what I want. They know how I want things done. They know what I desire. They put in their time and their works. He said, they're going to teach you. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass, when ye be multiplied and increased in the land, in those days, saith the Lord, they shall say no more, the ark of the covenant of the Lord, neither shall it come to mind, neither shall they remember it, neither shall they visit it, neither shall that be done any more.
He Okay, drop down to verse 18.
Verse 18. In those days, the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance unto your fathers.
He said, and when that happens, he gave you the steps. He said, you got to acknowledge, go proclaim these words, teach them. Acknowledge your iniquity. He said, my anger is not going to fall upon you. He said, acknowledge your iniquity. I'm going to give you pastors that are going to teach you. They're going to show you the way. This is literally the steps that he's laying out of our nation being built. We're going to be taught. We're going to be fed. We're going to be edified. We're going to be acknowledging our iniquity. We're going to start changing our ways. And then he said, I'm going to take you and I'm going to bring you into Zion. So that's all you got to do. You got to repent. But as a nation, we got to actually, start getting back to serving our God. This is the last scripture. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 30. Because in the same sense, if the Most High gave us an ultimatum and said that if we were wicked, we would be cursed, and if we were righteous, that we'd be blessed, we see that he's a man of his word. Every curse that he said he would put upon us, he put upon us. So then, if we know he's a man of his word, then we know that when he gave us promises of turning our predicament, those things have the same power. Those words carry the same weight as when he said he would punish us. And he already keeps acknowledging, I don't want to kill you. I don't want my anger to fall upon you. I don't want to have to hurt you. I don't want to have to keep cutting you off. I don't want you to keep having to resort to the things that you've been resorting to hope to be able to get by, or to hope to be able to rise above, to hope to be able to find a way that you can change your own situation. Most High said, I'm going to do it for you. He's not a God that he should lie. He said, I'm going to do it for you. But first, we got to do this. Go ahead. Start at verse 1, and let's get down to verse 3.
Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations where the Lord thy God hath driven thee, and shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice.
He said, when all these things are come, the blessing and the curse, right? We have all these things that have come upon us. We got all these curses that we're dealing with. He said, we call these things to mind among all the nations where we are, that the Most High has driven us. And we return unto the Most High and obey his voice. We start doing the very things that he asked us to do in the beginning. Go ahead.
According to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thy soul. He
said, when you start listening, you and your children, with all your heart and all your soul. You see so many Israelites that claim to be Israelites, that, got Israel in the name, and, all they trinkets and gadgets, and you see their kids, and their kids ain't keeping no commandments, no fringes, daughters in pants. They working on the Sabbath. He said, look, it got to be you and your kids, because then when they no longer are kids, they'll have kids, and then it got to be them and their kids. But it has to be continued. It has to be some kind of consistency for him to work with. He said, when you keep the commandments, you and your children, with all your heart and all your soul, you doing your absolute best. He said, I know you in captivity, but give me your best. Don't that feel way better when you got somebody that they may not even be the best at what they doing, but they giving you the best that they got? Ain't that the same principle that Yahushua showed us when all those rich people was casting great amount of money into the pretty much tithing, into the treasury, and then the woman, she brought 2 pence, which was like half a cent in today's value. 2 mites. She brought 2 mites, which is like half a cent in today's value. It's a very small amount of money, but he was like, she gave all she could. Those 2 mites were worth the thousands, 10,000s, the bricks of gold that people was leaving and dropping, the shekels. He said, because they only gave a percentage. You got $100 million, it's nothing to give somebody 10,000. That might be big money to them, right? Somebody came in here, offered you 10,000. They was like, hey, I was just looking for somebody to donate some money. Wouldn't you rush at the opportunity? Absolutely, man. I'm about to do this. I'm about to do that. I'm about to bless the church. I'm going to do that, man. But then he was like, yeah, you gave, you might have even gave 100,000. You might have gave $1 million, but 100 million, 1 million of 100 million is only 1%. You gave me that, that's basically like giving me the basics. But then she gave the 2 mites. That was all she had. She don't know when she going to get more money. She got to go and request and ask of people, can I have? And most people turn their nose up. She gave all that she got. He was like, she gave more than anyone else here. Because even though it was a little bit, she gave what she could. He said, you got to love the Lord and keep his commandments with all your heart and all your soul. Verse 3.
Verse 3. That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity.
He said that once you do that and he can look and see that, he said, then I'll turn your captivity. Go ahead.
And have compassion upon thee.
He said, and then I'm going to be understanding. I'm going to have compassion. I'm not just going to leave you there, man, forget that. They're doing right now. But no, he said, no, I'm going to have compassion upon you. I'm going to nurse you back to health. I'm going to strengthen you back up. Go ahead.
And will return and gather thee from all the nations.
He said, and I'm going to go and get you from everywhere that you are, all these different places that that I scattered you. I'm going to go and pick you up from wherever you at. Go ahead.
Whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee.
He said, then that's when he's going to turn our captivity. And everywhere we are, that's where we'll be delivered from. That's what it takes. That's the real black power. That's where our strength comes from. The Most High God, Yahweh, this is where our power comes from. Not in none of this, not in the protests, not in the sayings, not in the creativity, not in Hotep. He said, when you hearken unto the power of the Most High, the commandments, you start living with these principles. Once you do that, he said, I'll gladly go and get you. Con. I'm going to get that for the elder. Deuteronomy chapter 4. 27 through 29. Con, this is a great one. Go ahead.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 27. The Lord shall scatter you among the nations. And ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, where the Lord shall lead you.
So we're going to be scattered, and it's going to be few of us left because we're going to get persecuted and killed wherever we are. Go ahead.
And there you shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell.
And in all these different lands, our people have fallen into a lot of different ideologies and a lot of different religions. People, they falling down at the side of the cross, that wood fashioned of men's hands. Literally a murder weapon. If Christ was killed by a cross or killed on a cross, what makes you think he likes crosses? Imagine if you was to get gunned down and everyone's like, man, he got hit with an AK bullet, so I got this AK necklace to honor him. What makes you think I'm going to be a big fan of the AK after that was my method of death? What makes you think I'm going to want to see that everywhere I look? God. And then he said, and stone. So many of our people, you bound to the Mecca stone, to the this, to the that, to the statues. People got the little statues in their houses, these little figures. We bowing down to wood and stone. Brother was saying the other day, he was like, man, anytime I get in trouble, he had a statue of Mary, Yahweh Christ's mother, right? He was like, he would take it off the shelf and pray to it, whatever he was in times of trouble. Bowing down, hoping that he talking to this statue, like, come on, man, save me. That's really what our people are falling into. And from the outside, we clearly know that it makes no sense, but these are the things that our people trust in the land of our captivity. Go ahead.
But if from thence...
He said, but, go ahead.
But if from thence thou shalt seek the Lord thy God, thou shalt find him.
He said, but... if you in that captivity, if you're in that trouble and you choose to seek me after everything we've done to the Most High, he still has that love and compassion for us. After all the hell we've given him, all the disrespect, he said, you played the whore. There's even a scripture, he said, man, if a woman plays a whore against her husband, he said she can't come back. But he said, you, Israel, you can come back. You just got to do right. Talk about love. After all, and mercy, absolutely. He said, after all that, all you got to do is get right. You choose, but if you choose to come back, he said, you will find the Most High. Go ahead.
Thou shalt find him if thou seek him with all thy heart and with all thy soul.
He said, if you sincere, you're going to find him if you seek him with all your heart and all your soul. That's where our power is going to come from. That's going to be the root of our salvation, is coming back to the Most High God, Yahweh. Do you have anything you want to add up? So all praises to the Most High, Israel. We're going to say Shabbat Shalom. Be sure to tune in with us tomorrow at 4:30. We're going to have Feed the Sheep, one of the bishops. We're going to be, still edifying the people, still trying to send the Most High's word forth in hopes that we're going to be delivered and find his face. Shabbat Shalom, Israel.
It's mixed, y'all.